Hello and welcome back to Democracy, everybody. Welcome back to Helldivers 2, where today we're going to be going over all the rest of the defensive strats, mainly the mines that we're going to be talking about today, and we're going to be ranking them versus the three factions. These stratagems, similar to the turrets, I don't use a whole lot, but some of them I do really like, and some of them I do use pretty frequent. So, starting out, we have the E/MG 101 Heavy Machine Gun Emplacement. This one is the big machine gun that you have to hop on and fire yourself. This gun is kind of cool. This one's available at level 10. This one costs 10,000 requisition slips, has a 180-second cooldown, and is a 6-button input. The machine gun has a pretty good rate of fire, doing 200 damage per shot and having heavy armor pen. This is pretty good. It also holds 300 rounds, and then once it's empty, you hop off of it and it drops down into the ground. This one you can find on defense missions, and this one is definitely better on the defense missions than it is on any sort of offense mission. Pretty much all of the things that we're going to be talking about now are going to be better on defense missions, hold the area mission, or like eradicate the forces missions, with some of these being pretty useful. Any place where there's not a whole lot of area that the enemies can go, these ones are pretty good. The heavy machine gun turret is very fun. I do really like it. It's very cool to be using, and I do enjoy using these on defense missions. But for an overall rating, I would say this one's probably B tier across the board. Against bugs, this one can do pretty well. It can kill chargers if you're allowed to keep shooting them, or impalers. You are a sitting target though, and either one of those can one-shot you back, so you have to worry about that. You can kill titans with this, but it's not really quick, and you have better options than that for this. Kind of the same thing goes with the bots, where it's like you can kill hulks with this, and it actually can kill them fairly quickly. It kills the medium and small bots really quick. Not really the best against like tanks. They'll probably kill you if you try to hop onto this. And against the squids, kind of a similar situation. This can kill flesh mobs pretty quick though. So right in the middle, I think, is a fair place to put this one. It's a very fun stratagem to be using. I do like this, as well as a lot of these like in-place turret things. They are actually pretty fun to hop on every once in a while, but a little bit awkward overall. Our next stratagem is the Shield Generator Relay. This one is also available at level 10, will cost you 9,000 requisition slips, is also a 6-button input. This one only has a 90-second cooldown on it though. This one is a purely defensive stratagem, mostly. You can use it as an offensive stratagem to physically hit something with it. It's probably not the best to be doing that, but you can kill things with this. For an overall rating for the shield gen, I would say this one's probably D tier against the bugs. It really doesn't help that much against them. A tier against the bots, and then B tier against the squids. This one is really good against ranged enemies, and frankly, there's just not a whole lot of ranged bugs. Yes, it can stop like the bombarding ones, but that's about it, and it's only really when they're bombarding. If they want to spit at you, they'll just walk right in and try spewing at you, so that doesn't really help. And all the other bugs will pretty much just rush to this and kill it pretty quickly, so it doesn't really help there either. Against bots, this is where it is the best, because bots have the most range units. They will try shooting this. Yes, they can have hulks and berserkers rush this and break it, and that does kind of suck, but it is really nice for this to actually soak up a decent amount of damage, especially from like a factory strider or something like that. It's really good on the bot missions, especially since it comes up so quickly. And on the squids, it's kind of okay. You can stop some of the squid units from shooting at you, mostly the overseers, as this isn't really going to stop voteless, and it's not really going to stop like flesh mobs. But for the other things, sometimes they use range on you, especially like the Harvester's Death Ray. It's actually kind of useful for stopping that, and with how quickly this one comes up, it is pretty cool. If you do want to be using this as a weapon, that is kind of funny, because you can have this drop directly on like a Titan and kill it, but at that point you should probably just go with the EATs, as they have a shorter cooldown, and you also get like a dedicated anti-tank weapon along with it, 2 of them even, so yeah, you have better options for that, but I do appreciate it whenever you can land these on something. Our next stratagem is the Arc Tesla Tower. This one is pretty cool. So the Tesla Tower is available at level 15. It has a 120-second cooldown on it, fairly low cooldown, at least compared to some things. Costs 8,000 requisition slips, and also is a 6-button input. This one for a rating, I would say, is S tier versus the bugs, and then A tier versus the bots and the squids. This one can do a lot. It is really good for the crowd control. It's also very dangerous. Don't get close to it, otherwise it will kill you, unless you're wearing an armor that can resist that. And there's not a whole lot of armors that can, and if you stand close enough to it, it will continually zap you, and even those armors can die fairly fast to the Tesla Tower. Also, if you lay flat on the ground, it won't zap you either. That is kind of nice. The Tesla Tower is really good for the crowd control, and it can kill just about anything. It's particularly good on the bugs, since they have to get close, and most of their units are small units. This can still get destroyed by like chargers if they rush it. It can get destroyed by impalers, since they can kind of sit out of range of it, and it can get destroyed by titans, but generally speaking, those are the only things that are really going to be destroying this. I guess it's also not really going to help against the dragons either, but assuming that you don't have the dragons, then you just have to worry about regular titans. For everything else, it can clear them up really well. On bot missions, it's kind of the same thing. This can clear up the bots really well, unless it's like a tank that rolls up and destroys it. And there's always that problem with the bots, is that a tower, or let's say the main gun on a factory strider could just blow up your Tesla tower and it does nothing, which is really disappointing. But with how short a cooldown this is, it's not such a big deal. It's just more annoying than anything. Same thing kind of goes for the squids. The Harvester's Death Beam can kill this one pretty fast. The Stingrays can kill this pretty quick too. But so long as you're just fighting like the Voteless, the Flesh Mobs, and the Overseers, usually you get quite a lot of value out of the Arc Tower too, since most of the time you're fighting those enemies. Flesh Mobs can rush this and break it, but that's a little bit unlikely, especially if you mix it with, like, let's say a Poison Mines or something like that. You can keep your Tesla Tower pretty safe. Tesla Tower is really, really good on defense missions too. Like, it's pretty much always up and will get a ton of kills. It's really good for that. Up next, we have the Grenadier battlement. This one is really fun. This one is actually the most recent of these stratagems that was added, and it's a pretty silly stratagem. This one you can get at level 15, costs 10,000 requisition slips, has a 120-second cooldown, and is a 5-button input. This one is basically just kind of a wall that prevents some damage. The walls will break, and it also gives you a grenade launcher that you can keep shooting, where they've basically loaded all of the belts into the grenade launcher. This gives you like 60 rounds with it, which is kind of funny. Unfortunately, though, this is pretty much only for crowd control. I would say this one's probably B tier versus the bugs and the squids, but C tier versus the bots. The grenade launcher generally doesn't do a whole lot to the bots, with the exception of like the medium and the small bots. You can bully them around, which is kind of nice. The bigger bots, not so much, unless you have like the flying version of the Hulk. Then you can actually blow it up thanks to it just splashing it to its jetpack, which is kind of nice. But against like tanks and stuff, you're not really going to do any damage. Same thing goes towards like the bigger bugs, chargers. You can kill impalers with this. You could kill chargers with this too if you drop it underneath them. It's just, can you do it fast enough before they charge you and crush you, which is kind of scary. The Titans, it doesn't really work too well against. And then against like the squids, really good against the flesh mobs and really good against like the overseers and against the voteless. Not so good against everything else. There's also the problem with this only being able to shoot in not quite 180 degrees in front of you. So if you've placed this in kind of an awkward spot and there appears to be enemies coming from behind, you can't really use it very well. And if enemies do swarm this, it can break it pretty quick, but it does come up pretty often, and it is a very fun battlement to be using. Next up, let's talk about the anti-tank emplacement, or the Grandpa chair. This one is pretty awesome. So this one comes in the Urban Legends War Bond, will cost you 110 medals to get, and has a 180-second cooldown on it. This one is really, really good on defensive missions. It's one of the best defensive stratagems in the game. For an overall rating for the Grandpa chair, I would say this one's probably A tier against bugs and A tier versus squids, and then S tier versus bots. It's really good on the bot missions. So this is just a chair with a cannon attached to it that you just call out your shots and it will just keep shooting. You have 30 rounds in this, which do a ton of damage. This can knock out basically everything. On bot missions in particular, even on like blitz missions, this one can be really good. You just find like a hill or something, place that on there, just sit in there and you can just snipe things from across the map. It is very devastating to basically anything that it hits, and it can kill anything. The only reason I don't say this is like S tier versus the bugs and squids is because they can more easily rush you than like the bots can. It's a lot easier, especially now with like the audio bugs, where like chargers are silent, where they can just show up and crush you. Titans can kind of do the same thing, and same kind of goes with like flesh mobs showing up. At least those shouldn't be silent, but if they do show up behind you and you're not ready, they will kill you, assuming that you can't heal yourself and then hop off your Grandpa chair. Very cool weapon otherwise, one of my absolute favorite defensive stratagems. And then finally we have all of the mines, which we have 4 different kinds of mines. So out of the mines we have the anti-personnel mine, the incendiary mine, the anti-tank mines, and the gas mines. The anti-personnel mine is available at level 1, the incendiary at level 8, the anti-tank mine at 15, and the gas mine at 20. All of these have a 120-second cooldown, and all of these are 4-button inputs. We'll just talk about all of them at the same time. The anti-personnel mines are good for just breaking up crowds, as you would kind of expect. That's what they do. They explode. They don't really do that much damage towards big enemies. They're mostly there just to clean up crowds. The incendiary mines are in pretty much the same type of spot. They're there to clean up crowds, although with fire it can actually sort of melt through armor, thanks to the way that fire works, but it's slow and it doesn't really kill them guaranteed. As well as it does have lingering fire on it too, which is kind of nice. If you step on these, you might be in trouble, especially like the anti-personnel mine will probably kill you unless you have fortified, in which case then you should be able to survive it. Same thing kind of goes with the incendiary mine. It probably won't kill you right away, but if you have the fireproof armor, then you can actually step on these. It's not really great to be doing that. The anti-tank mines, you can actually step on and they won't explode. Only certain enemy types can actually trigger them. So this is generally the larger enemies. So this can be like hive guards, this can be chargers, impalers, titans, hulks, tanks, the factory strider, and the harvester. That's all the things that the anti-tank mine can blow up. And then the gas mines are also crowd control, but kind of better since the gas just lingers over time, deals damage over time, and confuses things. Also, if you step on the gas mines, you're not going to die. You could actually step on multiple of these even without wearing gas resistant armor and still be fine. If you are in gas armor, then these do basically nothing to you when you step across them. For a rating for the anti-personnel mines, I would say there are B tier versus the bugs, C tier versus the bots, and then B tier versus the squids. They're pretty good at clearing up the crowds, and it does come up often enough that it is decent to just throw this out if you know that there's a bug hole spawning over there. Not the best towards the bots because they have more heavy units, so you don't really need that. And then against like the voteless hordes on the illuminant front, they're actually pretty good. For the incendiary mines, a very similar placement. I would say these are probably A tier versus the bugs, C tier versus the bots, and then B tier versus the squids. Pretty much for the same reason. Fire doesn't work as well against the bots. It's still fine though, like you can still clear up the small bots, but I just don't really like using either of these on the bot missions. These are a little bit better on the bugs since they tend to swarm and run through the fire a little bit more. Kind of the same thing with the voteless, and it's kind of nice to burn flesh mobs, but I don't think that this is that much of an improvement over the regular anti-personnel mines, so I'd say they're about at the same tier. For the anti-tank mines, these ones are kind of disappointing. I don't really like running them that much because it only affects certain enemies. On the bug front, I would say these are like C tier, the bot front B tier, and the illuminant front D tier. They only affect the harvesters on the illuminant front, and it's very unlikely that those are even going to step on these, so it's just a very awkward stratagem to be taking. On the bot front, these are going to get you the most amount of value in my opinion, just because it's very likely that like hulks or striders or tanks are going to roll over the top of them, and this does do a decent amount of damage. On the bug front, it's pretty good against like chargers, and it can be good against like impalers. You can even blow up brood commanders, but usually those aren't that big of a deal. And then it's very unlikely for this to hit titans, so again, just kind of an awkward stratagem I find. And then finally, the gas mines, I would say, are S tier on the bugs, B tier on the bots, and then A tier on the squids. Gas mines are very consistent. I do really like them. They're still not really the best versus the bots just because you don't have a huge density of bots, but it is nice to at least clear up the medium ones thanks to it. On the bug and squid front, this is really good for just clearing up the crowds. Poison is really good on the bug front in general because you can just throw this like right in front of a bug hole, and this should kind of take care of the problem. You can largely just ignore the problem since everything's going to be confused and taking damage over time. Sort of the same thing goes on the squid front. If there's a bunch of voteless or flesh mobs or something like that, it's still really good for clearing them up. Again, maybe not the best for like when harvesters show up. And this is where I put all the defensive stratagems. Up next, we're going to be taking a look at all of the special weapons because we haven't talked about them in quite a while. And we do have some new ones, and they are very, very fun to use. So be on the lookout for that video. Thank you guys so very much for recommending this one. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.